Tonight's big stories. President Bongbong Marcos says the Philippines will continue to defend its maritime territory following the floating barrier incident in Scarborough. We'll be speaking to Senator Francis Tolentino about this later in the program.
The president also bars LGUs from collecting pass-through fees for vehicles that are transporting goods and using national roads.
And a recent survey shows that half of Filipinos are unhappy with the K-12 program, with 9 out of 10 Filipinos preferring the June to March academic calendar.
Happy Friday. Welcome to the show. I'm Regina.
I'm Gretchen.
And I'm Shawn.
Okay, let's kick things off with President Bongbong Marcos. It's been an eventful day, and finally he's weighed in on the floating barrier incident over in Scarborough Shoal. He says the Philippines is not looking for trouble, but we will continue to defend our territory and uphold the rights of Filipino fishermen.
Hindi tayo naghahanap ng gulo, umiiwas tayo sa mga maiinit na salita, ngunit matibay ang ating pagdepensa sa teritoryo ng Pilipinas. Patuloy natin ipapagtanggol ang Pilipinas, ang maritime territory ng Pilipinas, ang karapatan ng mga fisherman natin na mangisda doon sa mga areas kung saan sila nangingisda daan-daang taon na. Kaya hindi ko maintindihan ba't nagbago na ganito.
Also today, the Philippine Coast Guard presented the anchor of China's removed floating barrier. In a press briefing, PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, said Filipino fishermen can again access the Bajo de Masinloc. He also says they will remove any future barriers placed in the contested shoal.
This is the anchor of the floating barrier that we cut. The mere fact na nasa atin ang anchor nila, tingin ko naman, hindi ako magpapabricate ng ganitong kalaking anchor. In the next coming months, if ever that barrier will once again be in place, the Philippine Coast Guard will do whatever it takes for us to remove the barrier.
And by the way, Tariela also said that a Philippine surveillance aircraft deployed yesterday, Thursday, showed 2 Chinese Coast Guard vessels guarding the entrance to the shoal still, making it difficult for Filipino fishermen to enter the lagoon. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin called that area China's quote-unquote inherent territory.
Meanwhile, the United States is planning to conduct more multilateral patrols with the Philippines and other allied countries in the South China Sea. Deputy Assistant Secretary for Multilateral Affairs Jung Pak said the U.S. State Department has been rallying support for the Philippines to assert its sovereign rights in the area. The U.S. Coast Guard, for its part, said they will continue to help the country build up its maritime capabilities.
And while that press conference was going on, we got word that Vice President Sara Duterte was meeting with a Chinese official. Let's get more details on that from Brian Castillo. Brian, what do you have?
Shawn, that's right. The governor of Fujian province in China visited Vice President Sara Duterte in Davao City yesterday. Vice President Sara was accompanied by her sibling, Davao City Mayor Sebastian Duterte, during the reception for Fujian Governor Zhao Long. According to the Vice President, the Chinese official also had a meeting with former President Rodrigo Duterte. Vice President Sara expressed gratitude to the officials for the renewal of the Sister City Agreement between Davao City and Jinjiang City in Fujian Province. She also thanked them for the successful export of durian from Davao City to China. Shawn?
Thank you so much for those updates. News 5's Brian Castillo.
To talk about ongoing issues in the West Philippine Sea, we have with us tonight Senator Francis Tolentino. Good evening, Senator. Welcome to The Big Story. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening to you, to the trio for tonight.
You had to count ba? Okay, we are talking to you because you are chair of the Senate Special Committee on Philippine Maritime and Admiralty Zones. What did you make of this latest incident with the 300-meter floating barrier over in Bajo de Masinloc?
It just highlights the urgency of passing a new measure that would perhaps clearly delineate where our boundaries are from the baseline of the Philippines. So going seawards, where's the exact location of our territorial sea, the contiguous zone, the exclusive economic zone, etc., etc. So we have to make a claim because that has been part of China's ridicule to us during the arbitration case when they said that you don't even have a maritime zone law. That's why we're not trying to craft with a sense of urgency this maritime zone law.
With this, when do you think you might finish this maritime zone law? Because I think you guys started drafting it a few months ago, right?
And Congress, the lower house has already passed it as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
I think it because we're now on a break, but nothing stops us from conducting committee hearings. I think 2 or 3 more hearings were done because I'm trying to have a law that is more or less sustainable and would encapsulate not just current events but even what would happen in the future. So the Philippines just signed a new treaty. It involves the maritime conservation beyond the in the area beyond the continental shelf, so it has to be included. The 2016 arbitral ruling would have to be included, and incidents happening right now would have to be included definitely.
How will this help our fight for the West Philippine Sea, the Maritime Zones Law? What specifically will be put in there?
It will be strengthened because we're not just looking at the West Philippine Sea. It would even include the area towards the Pacific. I'm now referring to the Philippine Rise. We're all focused with West Philippine Sea issues, but there are still some things happening on the other side. So this would strengthen our claim because the United Nations Law of the Sea is just a how do I say this? It's just giving us the entitlement, but the international convention requires us to claim, and the maritime zone law would indeed be the claim, and it has been delayed for several decades now. There are now 152 countries with their own maritime zone laws, but the Philippines were still crafting our own maritime zone law.
Oy, Senator, no isang araw parang nagalit po yata kayo sa mga taga-DFA tsaka sa National Mapping and Resource Info Authority because they were hesitant to share with us saan nga ba may overlaps. So kayo po, sa nalalaman po ninyo, saan po ba yung areas where there are overlaps in terms of claims?
Hindi naman po ako nagalit. Malumanay lang naman po yung sinabi ko sa kanila na hindi galit na galit. Kasi public hearing po yun eh. Public hearing po yun. Wala po tayo dapat itagong mapa. Yung mapa makikita po sa Google, makikita po sa internet. How can they refuse to divulge the exact needs and bounds of our territory? It should be out there in the open. Even a retired Supreme Court Justice Hardelesa was present during that hearing, mentioned that there has got to be transparency here. So hindi naman tayo nagalit, but nakakahiya lang kasi ang daming mga resource persons coming from Australia, Singapore, na narinig na we could not yet put our acts together in that one hearing.
All right, Senator.
Hindi naman nakakainis.
Pero saan po kaya may overlap? Ito nga, bukod nga sa West Philippine Sea.
I think the other claimant countries would have their own exclusive economic zone. Vietnam, for instance, Malaysia would perhaps project inwards into our exclusive economic zone. But there is a mechanism for that. Article 74 of UNCLOS would require the countries with overlapping jurisdictions to sit down and determine the appropriate equidistant rule. So there's a dispute mechanism for this. So there's nothing wrong with that. Ang dami nang nangyaring ganyan.
All right, Senator, all this talk about maritime zones, no, medyo concerned. Kasi alam naman natin, ang unang affected talaga is yung mga fishermen, lalo na dun sa west coast ng ating bansa. There has been also some talk to amend the fisheries code. How are we doing on that? Matutuloy po ba yun?
It will start with the maritime zone, though. It would really delineate our fishing grounds coming from the baseline of our archipelago and then it would be a framework law, but it would now be producing subsidiary laws. So, for instance, laws that would require the country to protect not just the fisheries, but the other marine resources. Laws that would promote conservation, management of the corals, and among others. So, basic talaga na magkaroon tayo ng maritime zone law. That's where we
Pero yung
should start.
specific po dun sa amendments or possible amendments sa fisheries code, once maipasa itong maritime zones law, may mga tutol kasi na group, sinasabi po nila na baka daw lumiit yung area for
Hindi
common
naman.
fisher folk. May
Hindi
katotohanan
naman.
po ba yun?
Not true. It's not true. Baka mas lalo pang lumaki kasi magiging maliwanag na kung ano talaga yung ibig sabihin ng nilalaman ng law of the sea. So it's not true. They're probably talking of municipal fishing grounds, but what we're talking of is it's really going seaward to the further than the territorial sea. Ito na nga yung exclusive economic zones na pinapayagan ng International Law of the Sea, granting the coastal state, tayo yun, exclusive rights in the conservation, management, and exploitation of these fisheries. So, very broad po yun.
Aren't you worried that this maritime zone law might inflame tensions even further, especially since, I mean, Beijing is quite sensitive to well, these kinds of things. Already there's a word war going on in Scarborough, and no shots have been fired, literally. Pero,
Not at all. In fact, as I mentioned a while ago, during the 2013-2014 hearings sa arbitration, sila yung nagsasabi, hey, Philippines, why are you disputing this? You don't even have a maritime zone law. Sila yung namumutya sa atin na wala tayong maritime zone law. So, ang tagal na nun, we're decades late, so this is the answer.
why is it taking so long then?
Bakit
What are
ngayon
the
lang?
sticking points?
I don't know. I was not yet a member of the Congress years or decades ago. But again, as I have said, it's about time that we finish this.
Oh, by the way, before I forget to ask, when you wore those West Philippine Sea shirts dun sa FIBA World Cup,
I was not part of that cheering squad.
yeah, I know.
I did not attend. Napanood ko lang sa TV sa TV5.
But in any case, when it comes to the Senate stance on a related matter, which is reallocating funds to the Philippine Coast Guard, reallocating CIFs, confidential intelligence funds. Where do you stand on that issue?
Anything that would bolster the capacity, not just of the Philippine Coast Guard, Philippine Navy, Philippine Air Force, kasama po ako doon. In fact, I've been saying this, that it's not just the Coast Guard, but even our fisher folk should also be aided, including BFAR. So kasama po ako doon.
As far as Senate is concerned, Senator Tolentino, is everyone on the same page pagdating doon sa realignment ng CIFs?
I don't know. Hindi ko pa alam yung sentiments. I cannot speak for them.
But you haven't heard any dissent so far.
Kasi it came out from anecdotal news reports, naka-break na kami. So it hasn't been tackled yet, but we're having daily budget hearings, and then when we resume session pagdating sa plenary, it will be discussed.
Alright. Ano pong kinabibisihan ninyo ngayon na naka-break po, no? We all know kahit naman break, marami pa ring ganap, no, sa upper house. What are senators busy with this session break?
Well, during the session break, I will have a maritime zone law hearing. During the session break, we will still be conducting budget hearings. So, and hindi po, it doesn't mean na kahit naka-break, walang ginagawa. Mas mahirap pa ata itong break kasi ang daming natambak na gagawin, especially these events coming out of the West Philippine Sea.
Senator, sabi niyo po yung itong floating barrier incident ay diversionary tactic lang ng China, given yung kasiraan ng mga corals dun nga po sa ating mga sa Scarborough Shoal. I mean, just given their aggressive actions recently, the 10-dash line map, the water cannon incident, what do you think China is doing here, and where are we at right now?
No, China is really being assertive, aggressive in claiming territories, even though they were the 10-dash line was ruled out as invalid or illegal, as stated in the arbitral ruling. So they're flexing their muscles, so to speak. So I don't know the exact. I'm not privy to what they're discussing, but I think the response of the government is correct. We have a good Coast Guard leadership, but unfortunately, Admiral Abu is going to retire a few days from now. So there will be a new Coast Guard leader after his retirement. So I hope this will be sustained. So ang dami kasi nangyayari right now as we speak. We have a visitor dock at the South Harbor. Is a Canadian naval vessel. So they're probably irked of several visitors flying that route, which they claim to be theirs.
But this year alone, there have been so many incidents with China over in disputed waters, and I'm just to follow up on Gretchen's question. To clarify, you've been happy with DFA's response to all of these?
Sometimes late. That's why I got here the other day. They were too slow when I was asking for the map. So apparently, what they're saying out there is not reflective of what they should do. Likewise during committee hearings. But again, I think the response so far is good, coordinated. But I foresee that there would still be a continuing negative on our part actions coming from the other side.
All right.
Would you support a resolution to take this issue up with the UN General Assembly?
I did. In fact, this recent coral destruction incident should not just be on an arbitral level, but we should file a case before the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, the ITLOS. Mananalo po tayo doon, but kailangan lang ipunin yung ebidensya, and it has to be backed by science, that there was not just a mere discoloration due to natural waves movements, but it was really man-made and there was human intervention.
Senator, I wanted to get your thoughts on the return of mandatory ROTC. We have been asking different people about it, lawmakers as well as men in uniform, retired or otherwise. Some of them pabor kasi mukhang umiinit daw tong tensyon with China. Ano pong opinion nyo dito?
I've been advocating that. In fact, I just initiated an ROTC games. We're done with Iloilo leg, the Visayas leg conducted in Iloilo City, Mindanao leg conducted in Zamboanga City, a Luzon leg conducted in Cavite. ROTC cadets, they although in that even included Miss ROTC pageant. So it's not just your military drills. For me, the ROTC program is more of the character development of a cadet. So through sports, through disaster-related activities, etc., even climate change initiatives should be included. So I am in full support of the restoration of the mandatory ROTC. Mabigat talaga yung problema natin. So discipline, character building, all will have to be highlighted, of course.
You also spoke about modernizing the ROTC program. Apart from those that you've mentioned, what do you mean exactly? At what level should this be offered? And hindi po ba kasi parang medyo may takot din yung mga tao given the history of ROTC,
Yung mga hazing,
harassment, hazing. Hindi ba pwedeng rebranding din? Ano pong thoughts nyo doon?
Well, as I've said, it's not just your military drills. Itong threat sa atin sa West Philippine Sea is a wake-up call. We cannot just sit back and relax and study the law of the sea. we have to be prepared for any eventuality. I'm not treading on a difficult warlike scenario, but it's for me it's more of character development, the discipline that can be instilled amongst our youth. I think ROTC if really modernized, made attuned to what is happening, climate change, as I've mentioned, should probably be a way. And I just realized when I was in Zamboanga City that the father of the ROTC program in the entire world served in Zamboanga City. I'm now referring to General John Pershing. There's a Pershing Plaza in Zamboanga City. So, at nakakagulat, kahit optional lang ngayon yung ROTC Games, thousands participated. Not just from government schools, but even private institutions.
How do we safeguard it from abuse and harassment and hazing and corruption and all of these issues?
I think we have to have systems in place. The trainers should be professional, not just trainers, but we have to have a professor-like stature of those that should handle this. And I think the ROTC has served its purpose. Nagkaroon lang ng aksidente nun eh. So I invite you to watch the ROTC Games. It's like palarong pambansa. So kapag nakita niyo, magugulat kayo. We have ladies who are cadet officers but participating in beauty pageants, etc., etc. So I think maraming mga kabataan na naniniwala na makakatulong sa kanila yung ROTC program.
Alright, we all know no, na kayo po at ang inyong kapatid si Kong Bambol ay fan po ng sports. You are big sports supporters. Of course, Asian Games question, Sen,
Yes,
para naman mas
yes.
magaan yung ending ng ating conversation.
Yes.
Happy ka ba sa performance ng Team Philippines so far? Nasa 24th place pa tayo as of now.
I sad that I learned that Nesty just lost. Pero you still have Yumir Martial sa boxing, you still have Carlo Paalam, and a lot of other would be supposed to be medal holders. You have Miss Ayala, madami pa namang iba yan eh. So happy, I think we just have to wait. Yung football team natin malakas, yung Filipinas. Yes. Incidentally, I have here my
Your pass.
Asian Games pass. Yes, but
Why
I'm
aren't
still
you
here.
there?
Bakit
I'm
po
still here
wala kayo?
because we have to attend to the maritime zone zone.
Oh,
Yung
bilisan
pass eh.
Urgent yun.
Bilisan yun
Ano
na,
pong
Sen.
plano, Sen?
Sa China kasi yung
Sa China.
Asian Games
Ano pong plano po ng Senate for sports? We have been, I think, making headway. We have been improving in different international meets and tournaments. Meron po bang plano ang Senado in terms of legislation for our athletes?
Specifically with the budget
I
for
think we have done a
2024.
lot. We have done a lot, especially with the sports academy. My only proposal here is that we consolidate all of this. Kasi may mga iba't ibang sports academies, like we have one in Zamboanga, then Sur, and then siguro yung and to take note, yung sinabi ko kayo ng ROTC events, ROTC games, pang international yung pool, because we're now talking of college students, yung palarong pambansa, no offense, pang elementary and high school yun eh. So what is the Senate doing? We're supportive, but we have to have a really elite academy that would really support, not just in terms of training, but even the nutritional needs and academic needs of our athletes. So mahaba-haba ito, lagi na lang tayo nag-i-start, but let's wait for the results. Hindi pa naman to tapos yung Asian Games eh. Ongoing pa ho yan. Still have several days.
Yeah, hindi pa tapos ang boxing.
That
Ika
is-
nga.
That is true. There's also still Gilas, right? Okay, we're going to have to leave it there for now. We'll let you get back to the Philippine Maritime Zone Law. Thank you so much for joining us, Senate Special Committee on
Thank you.
Philippine Maritime and Admiralty Zones Chairman Senator Francis Tolentino.
Thank you.
Up next, Local governments will no longer be able to collect any fees from cargo vehicles passing through national roads. More details on that when the big story returns. You're watching the big story here on One News. President Bongbong Marcos ordered local government units to suspend the collection of so-called pass-through fees imposed on vehicles delivering goods and merchandise. Now, for those who don't know, pass-through fees are taxes and charges on transported goods passing through the jurisdiction of an LGU, not your personal cars. Under Executive Order number 41, LGUs are now prohibited from collecting such fees on motor vehicles carrying goods that are traversing national roads or roads not constructed and funded by the local government. LGUs are also strongly urged to discontinue the collection of other fees like sticker fees, discharging fees, market fees, or mayor's permit fees in such roads. The EO notes that these pass-through fees have a huge impact on the logistics costs for delivery of goods, which in turn are passed down to consumers. The result, higher prices of commodities. The president says this move will also improve or make more efficient the transportation of goods across the country.
We are doing this to ease the doing business and to lower the cost of transportation. Kasi kung dire-diretso yung truck na makapunta doon sa pupuntahan niya talaga, mas mabilis, ibig sabihin, mas mura ang magiging transportation. Iba-iba ang bawat bayan na dadaanan mo, maglalagay ng roadblock, tapos mag-inspeksyon, ibang bayad for bawat ano. Habang nag-aantay ka, ini-inspeksyon niya, I'm sure nakikita ninyo ito, may nakapila ng mga truck na kahit overnight nandun pa rin. Kaya ease of doing business ang ating ginagawa.
I'm sure that's going to make a lot of people happy.
Oh, yes.
But again, law of economics trade-off. So I wonder how much it's going to take out of LGU's budgets, right?
Yeah.
That they do earn through these
Fees,
fees
toll
and
where they allocate
charges.
that.
Exactly. I wonder what it means for their programs. So when is this expected to kick in, and what penalties await those that don't comply? Maricel Halili has the answers. Mase, what is it?
Reg, under the EOs, the LGUs are given 30 days to submit their ordinances on pass-through fees to the Interior Department. Other government agencies will review these ordinances to make sure that they will follow the EO. The agencies that will review these ordinances, aside from the Department of Interior and Local Government, include the Department of Trade and Industry, Public Works and Highways, Finance Departments, and the Anti-Red Tape Authority. But Reg, just a clarification. Especially for the delivery drivers, this EO does not cover expressways managed by the private companies. Meanwhile, public officials or employees that fail to comply with the suspension order for pass-through fees may face administrative and disciplinary sanctions. Reg?
All right, that's good to know. Thanks for that, Mase Halili.
All right, this one, we have been talking about this non-stop for 2 weeks in a row. Over in Sitio Capihan in Socorro, Surigao del Norte, authorities have set up additional security checks. At least 30 officers from the 2nd Surigao del Norte Mobile Force Company are manning the checkpoint at the foot of Sitio Kapihan, which is the community's sole entry and exit point. The municipal government of Socorro is worried that SBSI members may want to stage a protest after what went down in yesterday's Senate hearing. The group, accused of engaging in supposed cult-like activities, is preparing for the next Senate hearing that will take place in their community.
Talagang para makikita natin directly ang situation dito. We could not discount yung possibility na may mga threat both parties. People from within Kapihan, at the same time, people from Socorro poblacion who is not part of the Kapihan.
Well, after that hours-long joint hearing in the Senate, the question is, are the lawmakers any closer to an answer? Let's get updates from mobile journalist Julie Baiza. Julie, go ahead, please.
Reg, if you ask Senator Bato de la Rosa, he thinks it's possible that someone else, someone more powerful than Senyor Aguila, is pulling the strings over at Sitio Kapihan. Senator Bato said it's possible that J. Renz Kilario is only being used for his influence over the people. But of course, nothing is certain as of now. The leaders of the Socorro Bayanihan Services are still detained in the Senate, and lawmakers are preparing for the next hearing to be conducted in Sitio Kapihan. Reg?
All right, thanks for that update, Julie Baiza.
After this quick break, an SWS survey shows that 5 out of 10 Filipinos are not happy with the K-12 curriculum. That and more when the big story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here in One News.
Half of Filipinos are not happy with the K-12 system, according to a survey by the social weather stations. Out of 1,500 respondents, 50% said that they are dissatisfied with the basic education program. That is up from 44% last year. This year's survey also found that almost 9 out of 10 Filipinos prefer the June to March academic calendar, with only 10% favoring September to June. There have been calls over the summer to revert to the old school year format. DepEd is still studying this proposal, while a review of the senior high school curriculum is still ongoing.
The two biggest criticisms of K-12 have to do with the economics of it and the labor side of things. The economic side says you add on 2 additional
extra years.
right? And that's a lot for, especially for the lower income households, right? That's
They say it's
tuition,
anti-poor.
that's supplies, that's food, that's
They
etc.
they were
etc.
also saying at the start, when this was passed into law, that this was supposed to be taking away 4 years of tertiary education,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
But it has
And
also
then it's
proved
added on. Oo, exactly. And then the second
that they're
part,
not employable. And
that's
because,
the second part
yeah.
of it. Senior high school graduates, as many studies have found, are not that much more employable after the K-12 program is completed, right? So they see that's a failed promise.
Well, I guess
of
that's
the
why we
program.
have the K-10 Matatag curriculum pilot, which has gone into effect. It's now in pilot testing across 35 schools in this pilot run. So it takes out the 2 years extra.
What's the word that they use? Decongest.
Decongest.
Parang na-decongest.
Declutter. Sabihin ko, declutter.
Yung, they decongested the curriculum sa
Decongested.
start, lalong-lalo na, kasi to be able to help the kids focus
On the basics.
The basics. So, changes in the curriculum will be implemented in kinder, grades 1, 4, and 7. For the following year, after 2024 to 2025, grades 2, 5, and 8 will be added. And then 3, 6, 9 will eventually implement the curriculum in 2026. The 2027 naman, grade 10 will join the execution of the Matatag curriculum.
And by 2028, yun yung target ng full implementation. So they're doing it in a staggered system.
It'll be interesting to see what comes off it, right? What learnings we take away from that experiment. Pero the whole issue naman with the school calendar is because it has to do with the summer months, right?
It's either mainit or umuulan.
Exactly. It sounds like it's a small thing, but not really, because the weather is a huge thing. It affects the learning capabilities, right?
It does. So before, di ba, nung old school calendar, ang complaint natin, lagi tayong binabagyo. And they always say, bakit? Waterproof ba yung mga
classes,
bata? Lagi suspended.
Ngayon naman,
sa init.
Stroke.
Tapos suspended rin yung
nagkakasakit
classes.
din yung mga bata. Yun din.
So anong solusyon doon?
I'm not
Nagsisisikan sa
sure, because at the
classroom.
moment, right now it's September to June.
Yeah.
Not just that, also,
Oh.
the Filipinos are used to having summer vacation, summer break.
Summer with the
So
family,
with the new
right?
school
Going away
calendar
for the
that
summer.
lessens the break time of teachers even, from 2 months to like a little bit more than a month.
And then, of course, there's the whole issue now over this week over the confidential
Confidential
funds. DepEd Secretary Sara Duterte has asked for 150 million for DepEd alone. This is supposedly for national security. She said education is intertwined with national security. But now we know at the end of this week that that's going to be reallocated. But first, let's listen to what she said.
Napakahalaga na we mold children who are patriotic, children who will love our country and who will defend our country.
Ma'am, may breakdown po ba kung paano gagamitin yung money? Yung fund, may breakdown po. Saan mapupunta, which pondo to this, to that? Kay konti lang po, ma'am. May details tayo.
There is a joint memorandum circular with regard to confidential funds. So nakalatag doon kung paano siya gagamitin, nakalatag din doon kung paano siya i-liquidate. And by its nature, it's a confidential fund, so we cannot discuss kung paano siya ginagamit sa operation. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, ma'am.
The question thrown at the Vice President, how do we account for the funds? Diba? Is there a breakdown? Can you tell us? But
Pero ito nga, no, kung may 150 million pesos tayo sa education sector, saan natin to pwedeng ilagay talaga?
Given
na
the
mas concrete?
challenges, diba?
Exactly.
That we talked about.
Alright, tignan natin. 150 million pesos, that's 57 classrooms costing 2.6 million pesos each. Pwede rin siyang annual salary ng 462 na bagong guro, no, na nasa salary grade 11 or 27,000 pesos per month. At pwede rin siyang nasa 4.5 million textbooks at 33 pesos each, or 4,200 laptops worth 35,000 pesos
Saan kayo
each.
dyan? Doon ako sa
Classrooms.
Sa laptop ako.
Sa laptop wala.
That's a good point. That's
Okay,
a good point.
Kasi kung
So
walang
now-
classroom, laptop ang bagsak mo.
No, because we have to upskill now,
That's
right? This is
true.
the age of AI.
Pero it's only
right?
35,000 Ay,
We were just talking about
4,200 laptops lang mabibili
Oh,
mo.
57 classrooms
well,
is
maybe if we
equivalent
buy
to one school.
cheaper.
Or 57 classrooms is maybe 1 or 2 schools.
Well, we
That's
definitely
true.
could do a lot. Let's compute again, 650 million naman in confidential funds.
Ay,
That's for the OVP, eh. Yeah. So let's not touch that. But yung 150, but now that Gretchen says the laptops, I might swing my vote.
You're
towards
swinging
you.
your vote towards laptops.
It can
Yeah,
be used
because you
towards
need-
employability.
Because they need to learn how to be
Ito kasi yung argument
digitally
ko, okay?
savvy, right?
Argument ko against laptops, no? Baka maluma siya ulit or baka bilhin na naman nila yung pangit na overpriced
The
and
issue with
laos.
overpriced
Di competition natin
laptops.
yan.
Ayusin natin.
So,
Si
dapat
Gretchen ang
4,700.
mag-ano.
Siguro pag
oversight.
government, mga 3,000. Just kidding.
O ito, isa pang napaka-contentious na issue na medyo baka nakalimutan na natin but it's still very much alive.
Well, some key positions in the Maharlika Investment Corporation is apparently attracting multiple applications. Budget Secretary Emina Pangandaman told reporters that as of 2 weeks ago, they received 8 applications and at least 3 of these are seeking the CEO position. She adds that most applicants are bankers and a few of them have valuable overseas experience. The deadline for the applications was actually on Wednesday this week, and Pangandaman believes more applications came in ahead of that. The total number of applications were said to be reported to Pangandaman today, as the budget chief will help conduct candidate deliberations. But we still don't have an update on the final count, and recommendations will be made to President Marcos on October 2. October 2, that's already next week, so I can't wait to see who these are.
But actually, the Manila Bulletin had a report that I came across earlier. And one of the applicants for the role of President and CEO of Maharlika Investment Fund is former Union Bank President Vic Valdepeñas.
Na may
So banker talaga.
Oo, banker talaga.
Na may approval naman ni Finance Secretary Benjoc, no?
Yun din yung sabi, na meron daw siyang support and endorsement from the Finance Secretary.
Let's see.
Which is going to be important, but just to recap, we have 6 positions overall available. Of course, that's President and CEO, 2 regular directors, 3 independent directors. All of these seats are up for grabs. But yun nga, the government has already said they want to get the best of the best. And so we'll see in the coming weeks who these are going to be.
Definitely a tough task. Speaking of things that we've been watching out for, ito finally, PhilHealth.
Finally!
The website of PhilHealth's corporate and member portal are up and running again. If you remember, that was taken down last week, Friday, and shut down by the Medusa ransomware attack September 22. The state health insurer said the portals are now accessible while its e-claim system will be available within the day. But they say they are still cleaning up their systems. PhilHealth had to shut down its application systems after the cyber attack to make sure that the ransomware infection will not spread to critical computers. They're now verifying the alleged leaked data members supposedly found in the dark web. Hackers were asking for a ransom of $300,000 or 17 million pesos for the stolen data, but PhilHealth notes that they would not pay the hackers. PhilHealth is coordinating with the DICT, the PNP, and the National Privacy Commission for investigation on the matter. Well, I wonder when we will hear the end of it, right? The hacking of systems.
I think it will never end. Parang ganun na talaga eh.
Yeah, the scammers and the hackers would get more sophisticated. I believe that.
I would
It's
appreciate
like a race
the confidential
between-
funds sent that way,
I would too.
right?
Oh, I know.
It is a matter of
Why aren't
security
you a
also.
lawmaker?
Wait, 20 years.
Mga 20 years more.
He has some good ideas, huh?
Hindi, kasi nag-iiba na nga yung kasi
Iba na yung landscape.
cybersecurity,
Yes, correct.
and all those things.
Yeah.
Up next, we'll take a look at how our athletes are doing over at the Asian Games in China. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching the big story here on One News. Let's get some updates on our athletes that competed in the Asian Games in Hangzhou, China earlier today. Medyo struggle ng konti para sa ating athletes. To kick things off, the mixed doubles tandem of Alex Ayala and Francis Alcantara came up short in their bid to book a seat in the mixed doubles final, losing 7-5, 6-3 to Chinese Taipei's Liang En Shou and Huang Chung Hao in the semifinals. Despite the loss, the two will get a bronze for their valiant showing. With the bronze, Ayala also won her second medal in the quadrennial showpiece, making her the first Filipino athlete since 2006 to win multiple medals in the Asian Games. Sabi ng tito niya, sinoli Ayala, not bad, kasi 18 years old pa lang si Alex.
That's true. Quite young.
Kakasali lang niya. Gita 3x3, meanwhile, has an unbeaten run in the Asian Games, which ended at the hands of Mongolia, the last group stage match, 21-12. Mongolia scored the game's first 5 points, then raced to an 11-4 lead inside of the first 4 minutes to take control of the game. Despite the loss, the national team will still have a chance of advancing to the quarterfinals as they face Kazakhstan tomorrow at 3:55 p.m. Lastly, talking about boxing, Olympian Nesty Petesho bowed out early in the Asian Games as she lost to Lin Yu Ting of Chinese Taipei in the women's 57-kilogram class. The loss denied Petesho a chance of clinching an Olympic berth since the quadrennial showcase also serves as a qualifier for the 2024 Paris Games. But Petesho still has the World Championship to look forward in her bid to earn a return ticket to the Olympics and win a gold medal.
Right, before we go, grabe yung ulan at traffic this whole week and mukhang magiging ganun pa rin ang lagay ng panahon over the weekend. Sorry, Reg.
I know. Last thing we want to hear.
Right, so this is because that low pressure area that Pag-asa has been keeping an eye on has finally entered the Philippine area of responsibility and has developed into tropical depression Jenny. Jenny was last located at 1,400 kilometers east-southeast or east of southeastern Luzon, with maximum winds of 45 kilometers per hour and gusts of up to 55 kph. This tropical depression is currently moving westward at 20 kilometers per hour. And while it is not directly affecting the country, it may cause heavier rainfall over the Babuyan Islands and Batanes in the next 5 days due to its proximity to the landmass. Jenny is forecast to steadily intensify throughout the forecast period and may reach tropical storm category tomorrow afternoon. And as usual, it could also enhance the southwest monsoon beginning Sunday, resulting in possible occasional rains over the western portions of central and southern Luzon.
It is going to be a rainy weekend with Jenny around the block.
Jenny from the block.
Waiting to see it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's it.
That's why she was so excited to hear you finish reading.
She was just waiting for me to finish.
Ayan, weekend na.
Okay,
I'm
ito
not
na.
so excited about it because yesterday, di ba, the traffic was,
so bad. All right, let's end this. Jenny from the block. That's it for the show tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.